God fix me. Maybe you've prayed that before, not once, but over and over again. Fix my thoughts, fix my habits, fix my struggles, fix what's wrong with me. Because deep down it feels like something is off, like you're not quite where you should be, not who you should be. So you try, you work on yourself, you adjust, you improve. And when that doesn't fully work, you bring it to God. Please just fix this. But what if that prayer is actually keeping you stuck? What if the way you've been approaching change is built on something that isn't true? Because hidden inside that prayer is an assumption that you are a problem that needs to be solved, that something in you is broken and needs to be repaired. And it sounds humble, it sounds spiritual, but it might be distorting everything. Because when you see yourself as a problem, you don't come to God with openness, you come with pressure. Pressure to improve, pressure to get it right, pressure to become better. And now your relationship becomes transactional. I'll try harder and you fix me. But real transformation doesn't work like that. You don't get change by trying to fix yourself. You get change by learning to stay connected. Let that sit, because this is where everything shifts. The goal was never to fix yourself into a better version. It was to walk with God as you are and be transformed from there. But most people reverse that. They think, I need to become better so I can be closer to God. So they try to clean themselves up first, fix their behavior, fix their thoughts, fix their inconsistencies. And then they feel more qualified to come close. But that creates distance, because now connection depends on performance. You don't get closer to God by fixing yourself. You get closer to God by coming honestly, even when you're not fixed. Especially then. Now let's make this real. Think about how you approach your struggles. When something isn't right, what's your first instinct? To bring it honestly, or to fix it first? To show up as you are, or to improve before you come? Most of the time it's the second, because somewhere along the way you learn that being better equals being closer. So when you're not at your best, you pull back. You try harder on your own. You manage it yourself. And only when you feel like you've made progress, you come back. That's not connection. That's distance disguised as discipline. Because now you're not walking with God in your struggle. You're trying to solve your struggle so you can come back. And that keeps the cycle going. Struggle, try harder. Feel frustrated, pull back, try again. Pull back, try again. You don't stay stuck because you're not trying hard enough. You stay stuck because you're trying to fix yourself alone. Let that land, because this is the turning point. The issue is not your effort, it's your approach. You're trying to fix something relational with something mechanical, and it doesn't work. Because transformation is not a project, it's a process of relationship. Now here's where it goes deeper. When you constantly ask God to fix you, you reinforce a belief that something is wrong with me. And over time, that belief shapes how you see yourself, not as someone growing, but as someone flawed. Always behind, always inconsistent, always needing repair. And that creates pressure, because now your focus is not connection, it's correction. And when your focus is always correction, you never feel at rest. You're always adjusting, always evaluating, always trying to get it right, but never fully at peace. Because fixed always feels just out of reach. Now hear this clearly. God is not waiting for a better version of you. He's inviting the real one. Not right now, not later, not after you improve, not after you figure everything out. Now. You are not a project God is trying to fix. You are a person He wants to walk with. Let that settle. Because this changes how you approach everything. It means your struggles are not barriers. They're places of connection. Your inconsistency is not something to hide. It's something to bring honestly. Your weakness is not something that disqualifies you. It's something that invites dependence. But that requires a shift from fix me so I can come close to I'm coming close so you can change me. And that's what we're going to unpack next. Why your mind keeps pulling you back into fixing mode. Why it feels so hard to just come as you are. and what's actually happening inside you when you try to control your own transformation. Because once you see that clearly, you stop fighting yourself and you finally start walking with God differently. So why does your mind keep pulling you back into fixing mode? Why does it feel so natural to try to correct yourself first before you come to God honestly? Because deep down, you've learned to relate through performance, not just with people, but with yourself. And without realizing it, you brought that same pattern into your relationship with God. If I do better, I'll feel closer. If I improve, I'll feel more accepted. If I get it right, I'll feel more at peace. So when something is off, your instinct is not connection. It's correction. Because correction feels productive. It gives you something to do, a sense of control, a feeling that you're working on it. But here's the problem. Correction without connection creates pressure, not freedom. You don't become whole by constantly correcting yourself. You become whole by staying connected while you're not. Let that sit, because this is where most people miss it. They think if I just fix this part of me, everything will change. But every time you fix one thing, another shows up. Another habit, another weakness, another inconsistency. And now your life becomes a loop. Fix, improve, find another flaw, fix again. And no matter how much progress you make, it never feels complete. Because the goal keeps moving. Almost there. Just one more thing. Just a little better. And you stay in a constant state of self-adjustment, but never fully at rest. You're not growing freely. You're managing yourself constantly. And that's exhausting. Now let's go deeper. Because underneath this pattern is something even more subtle. When you try to fix yourself, you stay in control of the process. You decide what needs to change. You decide how fast it should happen. You decide when you're better. Control feels safe, predictable. But transformation was never meant to be controlled like that. The more you try to control your transformation, the less you actually experience it. Because now, you're not receiving change. You're managing it. And there's a difference. Managing is effort. Receiving is relationship. Now here's where it becomes personal. Think about your quiet moments with God. Are you present? Or are you evaluating yourself? Are you aware of His presence? Or are you thinking about what you need to fix? Most of the time it's the second, because your mind is trained to look for problems, to identify what's off, to correct what's wrong. And that mindset carries into everything, even your faith. So instead of resting, you're scanning. Why, yes. Instead of receiving, you're analyzing. And that's why it feels dry. Not because God is distant, but because your attention is focused on yourself. Now here's another layer. Shame. Not always loud, present. Because when you constantly see yourself as something to fix, you start believing, I'm not enough yet. I'm still a problem. I need to be better before I can feel close. And that belief creates distance, not from God, but in how you experience Him. Shame doesn't just make you feel bad, it makes you hide while trying to improve. Let that land. Because this explains the tension. You're trying to get closer while feeling like you're not ready. You're trying to grow while feeling like something is wrong with you. And those two things pull in opposite directions. So you feel stuck, not because change isn't happening, but because your mindset is working against it. Now bring it all together. This is the cycle. See a flaw, try to fix. Feel pressure, feel not enough. Try harder, feel not enough. Try harder. Repeat. And the more you stay in it, the more disconnected you feel. God is not asking you to fix yourself before you come closer. He's asking you to come closer so He can change you. That's the shift. From self-repair to relationship. From control to trust. From pressure to presence. But here's the challenge. Letting go of fixing mode feels uncomfortable because now you're not in control. You're not managing every detail. You're not constantly improving yourself. You're just coming as you are, and that feels unfamiliar, even vulnerable. But that's where real change begins. Not in control, in connection. So in the next part, we're going to make this practical. How do you actually step out of fixing mode? What does it look like to stop trying to repair yourself and start walking with God in a real way? And how do you experience change without constantly trying to force it? Because once you get this, everything shifts, not by doing more, but by finally letting go of what was never yours to carry. So now this is where everything shifts. Not when you understand the idea, but when you actually stop trying to fix yourself and start relating differently. Because the goal was never self-repair. It was relationship. And relationship changes you in a way effort alone never can. So here are 5 simple shifts to move you out of fixing mode and into something real. Switch 1. From fixing pavram, binging. You stop trying to solve everything first, and you start bringing it honestly. Not polished, not improved, just real. Asterisk, real life, asterisk, instead of saying, I'll deal with this, then I'll pray. You say, God, this is exactly where I am right now. That moment is where connection begins. Switch 2. From control to trust. You release the need to manage your own transformation. You stop deciding how everything should change, and you allow God to work in ways you don't control. Asterisk, real life. Asterisk, you notice the thought, I need to fix this quickly. And you interrupt it, I trust that change doesn't have to be rushed. You don't grow faster by controlling everything. You grow deeper by trusting what you can't control. Switch 3. From correction, connections. You stop focusing on what's wrong, and you start focusing on who you're with. Because transformation happens through connection, not constant correction. Asterisk, real life. Instead of scanning yourself for flaws, you become aware of God's presence. Even for a moment. Even without words. And in that awareness, something shifts internally. Switch 4. From earning, receiving, you stop trying to earn closeness, and you start receiving it as something already given. Asterisk, real life. Asterisk, instead of thinking, I need to do better to feel close to God, you shift to, I'm already invited close, even here. You don't earn connection with God, you step into it, and that removes pressure. Switch 5. From self-focus, surrender. This is the deepest shift. You stop centering everything on yourself. Your performance, your progress, your flaws, and you release it, not ignoring growth, but letting it happen without constant self-analysis. Real life, you stop asking, how do I fix this? And you start asking, how do I stay connected here? You don't change by fixing yourself. You change by staying connected long enough to be transformed. Let that sit, because this is where pressure breaks. Ouch. When you start living like this, something begins to shift, not instantly, but deeply. The constant tension to improve yourself starts to fade. Not because growth stops, but because it's no longer driven by pressure. It's driven by relationship. You begin to feel less pressure to constantly improve, experience more peace in your current state, stay connected even when you struggle, grow without forcing it, and that changes everything. Here's the truth you need to hear clearly. You don't need to fix yourself to be close to God. You need to come close to experience real change. Because transformation is not something you produce. It's something you receive. Stop asking God to fix you. Start letting Him walk with you, right here, right now, even in the parts of you that feel unfinished. Because those are not the places He avoids. They're the places He meets you. If this message spoke to you, do one thing right now. Go down to the comments and type, I don't have to fix myself first. Not as motivation, as a decision. And if you know someone who feels stuck trying to improve themselves, share this with them. Because they don't need more pressure. They need a different way of relating. If you want more honest, freeing, life-changing truth, subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Because you don't have to live in constant self-correction. You can walk in real transformation. I'll see you in the next one.